For the audience, please introduce yourself and tell us about the business you represent.
My name is Reverend Shanay Scott. I represent Sincere Sessions Counseling Business, which is culturally competent counseling for everybody, but I specialize in Black and brown people. So it's
Wonderful.
Good. That's good.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
Yeah, so
After Martin Van Buren High School.
Well, mental health personally impacts my family. I have a brother who has autism, and he also is bipolar. And so when my family and I were trying to navigate the mental health space to try to figure out how to get him some help, it was just terrible trying to figure out what it looks like to care for Black men mentally. There was missing Black clinicians. There weren't a lot of Black therapists. There weren't a lot of clinicians that also had an understanding of God, right? And so it was like, let's over medicate, let's diagnose, but there was nobody that was comprehensively walking my family through what is this new diagnosis, right? And so I decided to become what I didn't see. And so I already had the qualifications, but I was working corporate, and I said, no, there needs to be some Black clinicians in the mental health field. And so through helping my brother to navigate his mental health issues, I wondered, like, how many more families have Black and brown boys, especially the age of 21 to 24, that's the onset of schizophrenia, and they don't know what to do. And so I decided to start a business to become that liaison between Black families in the mental health sector, to start doing some counseling and therapy myself, some spiritual direction, but also just to be like a resource to help connect Black families to the resources that they need to navigate some of those things.
That's
so
beautiful.
It's been great. Yeah,
that's
it's been great. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I still can't believe we went to the same school. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what it takes to be successful in your field.
I think it takes a relationship with God. I would say that. Because no matter what you learn in your books, like in school, you have to have deep empathetic energy. And then I would even say like deep wisdom and discernment to know how to guide somebody, right? People are literally depending on you on how to make decisions for their life. Should they start a job? Should they leave a job? Should they leave this boyfriend? Should they get another boyfriend? And so you have to stay grounded and rooted yourself. I would also say like staying in counseling myself to make sure that I'm not absorbing so much of what people are going through, and then, you know, at the expense of my own self. So that is what I would say to be successful. I would also say representation is really important. Being okay with being exactly who I am. Typically clinicians are old white women, and so just like being okay with like being exactly who I am, and then letting that speak for you. That's what I would say.
Beautiful. So just to follow up with that, and you kind of brushed upon it a little bit, if you can expound on it a little bit, what exactly does your service do for our community? Right.
So about 37 times a week, I'm holding one-on-one sessions via Zoom. So everything is virtual because this business was born in COVID. So everything is virtual. I wanted to give people accessibility. So number one, that's the first thing, making sure that it's accessible. The second thing is I make sure it's accessible price point, because the average counseling session is $100 to $150. I'm charging $75. And people can pay as they go. They don't have to get a package. Even if you don't have health insurance, I take private clients. And so number one, the first thing I do is I make counseling accessible. The second thing that I do is I am helping people to strategically navigate their mental health concerns, and I am doing that in a way that's culturally competent. So I understand the references, I understand the culture, and then I think there's such a stigma around counseling that like crazy people have to go to counseling. I'm transparent with my own story. I was in therapy for 3 years, and I think I helped to normalize the conversation about counseling. So that people who are everyday people, entrepreneurs, moms, dads, can feel like that it's a place for them. So
that's beautiful. Man, you've just been hitting us with a lot. It's a beautiful story all around.
Thank you so much.
As we said, it's a brief interview, so the last question we have for you is, where do you see yourself in your business in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so my desire is to have a wellness center. I want space I want to take my business from virtual to actually a brick and mortar space where people can, almost like a gym, have a day pass, a green space, a gym, like there's a Latin term called cura personalis, which means wellness of the whole soul. And so I want people to be able to come into a place, get access to mental health therapy, but also music therapy, and also a chapel where they can experience God, and also a body of water so that that communicates to you. I want every type of person, whether you learn kinesthetically, you're an auditory person, you're a visual person, to be able to have therapy in the way that best speaks to them, but all happening in one location. So in the next 5 years, I hope to do that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right.